with these new tariffs that we have for products from China, who's going to pay for it? And so many people keep saying, well, the consumer is going to pay for it. The consumer is going to pay for it. And in this case, this is an example of how the consumer isn't going to pay for this cost. This bag right here, it comes from China. It's 25% more costly today than it was 2 weeks ago. And you, as the consumer, aren't going to pay that extra cost. And why? Because the supply and demand of the market means that today, there's all the onions that you as the consumers need. We have low onion prices, and we can't raise our prices. So we as farmers are absorbing the additional cost when it comes to our bags. When it comes to other inputs, other things that we might be paying for, if it's metal or fertilizer or everything else for that matter, we are going to be paying for it because we cannot raise our prices. Now, someday in the future, maybe we'll be able to increase those prices and recapture it. But right now, when we need the money to operate, we can't ask for it because there's too many onions, and that's just the fact of the matter. So tariffs don't immediately get passed to you as the consumer. They'll get to you eventually, but right now, me and my family, we as farmers are absorbing the cost of the tariffs.
Regarding the tariff renegotiation, the trade renegotiation that's happening literally as we speak, as we've been driving from location to location here in Iowa, I've been on the phone nonstop managing a lot of that, or working to ensure that our farmers and our ranchers are represented in those negotiations. What I'll say is this, it is all to be determined. I know we'll have a big announcement on April 2nd, I believe, was the president's next announcement on his trade decisions. And of course, you know, he was elected with the idea of tariffs being one of the top tools in his toolkit to realign the American economy, to put Americans first. But I also know that the president was very proud the last time that then USDA Secretary Sonny Perdue, through some mechanisms through the USDA, was able to ensure that many of our farmers were made whole through those negotiations. We plan to do the same thing the next time. Of course, there are a lot of moving parts on that.
Let's talk about tariffs and what that means for us as apple farmers or the apple industry. Now, I'm coming from the perspective of a fourth generation orchardist. We've got a mid-sized farm at around 400 acres. That's honestly considered small anymore. This is just a lot of my own opinion, but I'm going to share some facts as to like what is actually going on. Tariffs may affect our top 5 export markets. I'm looking at my chart here. We've got Mexico, Canada, Taiwan, Vietnam, and India. Now that takes up 72% of the export market. We are really good at what we do as US farmers, whether it's apples or grain or anything in between, right? That basically means any of the land that we have, we've gotten really efficient, so we can grow a lot of fruit, a lot of food in a smaller space than ever before. What that also means is that we're growing so much food that the US market can't eat it all. You guys just simply can't eat enough food. That means that our export markets are very crucial. Talking to farmers like my dad and other guys around here, it's kind of the mentality of, we just gotta wait and see. And that's pretty much how the whole industry is looking at it right now. It's not like the apple industry is thriving right now either. This year, coming off of a really short crop, if we hadn't played our cards right on our personal farm with crop insurance, we wouldn't have been able to make our loan payment, and therefore we wouldn't be farming this season. You can imagine on a large crop, like we're probably going to go into this year, it's looking more normal more than anything, but still a decently large crop based off of what I'm seeing on the bud counts, and we're having pretty mild spring weather so far. Knock on wood. That being said, yes, these tariffs could be scary for us, but it's also at the point where what else could actually go wrong? I'm seeing orchards left and right being ripped out. They're not being farmed again, or they're being replaced with newer and better varieties. So we need these export markets. There is no question in that. We need these guys to keep going. However, we also need consumers and markets that are paying us fairly, especially when our number one cost is labor, and our labor costs keep going up and up and up. Bottom line, if you want good, high quality fresh produce that is farmed both sustainably and ethically, you're gonna have to pay for it. This train does not stop. So whatever's happening in the world, we've still got trees that have no idea what the political climate is, and they keep growing. They're gonna produce fruit. We've got fresh trees going into 15 acres that we're replanting, which is very exciting. So we're continuing to invest in the future, and so I hope there is a strong future for us, for both my generation and my next generation. It's getting a little bit long, but I'm just sharing my perspective and what I'm seeing out there. The export market is extremely important to us, as well as the domestic market. The pot isn't stirred too much, but we also need to set a tone that sets us up for long-term future successes. So whatever side of the aisle you're on, I hope you continue to support US farmers, because we appreciate y'all and we're doing the best that we can.
a little bit of dairy
We do.
and pistachios.
Yeah. So we milk 1,400 cows, and that's a mid-sized to smaller dairy here in Tulare County now as it is. And then we farm 1,200 acres and do some outside commercial work. We have trees, pistachios, lemons, and tangos.
So Tom is back now with me to talk about tariffs. Tom, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, well, hello from bright and sunny California. It's really beautiful out here today.
I'm glad to hear that. So, hey, I first want to ask you for your response here, and not too far from where you're at there in Tulare County. The Fresno County Farm Bureau, the CEO, is saying that, look, tariffs could have huge impacts on the bottom line of farmers and ranchers. And they spoke specifically about things like fertilizers, pesticides, and that foreign-made specialty equipment. I know you use some of that specialty equipment in your operation as well. What's your response to that? Are you already seeing changes in your operation?
Well, what we're doing is we're being real conservative in terms of buying anything additional. We can get by with everything we need, but the tariffs, when they come into play, are really going to have some impact. They're going to be substantial increase in prices, so there's some concern. Just keep the belt tight, and we'll see how it goes.
So as you're trying to tighten your belt, though, the president is sort of using some vague language in terms of the tariffs, specifically the carve-outs. How hard does that vague language make it for you to really plan for the future?
Well, in terms of what the president has to say, it creates kind of a knee-jerk reaction on social media because tariffs are extremely, extremely complicated. We went from NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement, into the USMCA trade agreement. We probably have product going into Canada. So if somebody says there's no tariff on milk going into Canada, they're right. For 3.6% of Canadian production, we can match that at no tariff. But after that, for example, with NAFTA, we had a 240% tariff on fluid milk and 298% on butter. So when somebody says, oh, you've got a 10% increase in tariff, in what level, what degree, what product? There's so many fractions that have different percentages on them. It's just hard to track, and long-term contracts play a lot into it.
They certainly do. And while you're sort of nailing down the specificity of some of these that are important to you, I'm also curious about your thoughts here from the USDA, perhaps hinting that the Trump administration could offer aid funds to farmers that have been impacted. We know that farmers did get money from the past administration, but they sort of continue to make federal spending cuts here. I don't know. What are your thoughts here on perhaps aid coming into the agricultural community? What would that look like, and how would it help?
Well, a lot of times there's opportunities to recoup some of those losses through a program through the USDA. And the fact that the foodstuffs is always the number one bargaining chip, it becomes a challenge that we never know if we're going to be getting cut, getting additions, or what. With the dairy products, food products, wheat, everything, corn, we feed the world, and, we have to thrive. So they'll do something to come along if it gets bad enough.
You have faith, it sounds like.
I've been doing this for almost 50 years, and, I've seen the ups and I've seen the downs. And at the end of the day, the people that understand what farmers provide are usually there to stand behind us.
Talk a little bit, John, about the impact specifically on Nebraska agriculture. The message I keep hearing is the uncertainty is what's most concerning.
Somewhere around 30% of all of the crops we grow need to be exported in order to find a home for them. I think we're at the top of the heap relative to beef exports, soybean exports. We're right at the top. So as states go that depend on exports, we're one of the heavy duty states that will be heavily impacted. We're in a world market. Things have changed in agriculture where we're no longer just the dominant agricultural producer. China has geared up. They actually produce more total agricultural products than we do. We're seeing tremendous competition in Argentina, Brazil. All these things add up. And especially if you've been in market development efforts, it takes a long time to develop a steady, dependable market relationship. It takes hardly any time at all to blow it up. So what we found in Trump 1.0 was the loss of the Chinese market is the cost that we're continuing to pay. We had $27 billion worth of marketplace value lost. We got reimbursed for $23 billion. The way we got reimbursed was really problematic. We didn't follow the normal payment limits procedure in USDA. We didn't have the oversight. We obviously paid a lot of money to folks that should not have gotten those kinds of payments. Because of the broad-based nature of these kinds of tariffs, then the damage that we can do to agriculture this time around would be substantially larger. We've just had 3 different deadlines for a farm bill be extended. And so we're extended again until September 30th again this year. So here we are, just one more kick the can down the road because we can't come up with the money to fund an updated farm bill with better income safety net and updated programs of support and all of those things.
I guess you could say we are at a crossroads. Actually, that joke would have been funny a while ago, but now everything is so serious that yeah, it's kind of hard to be lighthearted. I'm realizing that a lot of people are only listening and watching one news source. And so talking with colleagues lately, apparently there are a lot of folks that are unaware that our FSA offices, our Farm Service Agency and NRCS through the USDA are losing employees and field staff. If you're unaware of that, it's happening. We knew this would happen. This is what the administration campaigned on. So it's not really a shock, but what's a little bit of a surprise to me is that there are still a lot of people that are unaware it's even happening. So first, I would encourage you to get out of your comfort zone just a little bit, watch, listen, read news sources that maybe aren't your natural go-to. Not saying you have to embed yourself in them, but be willing to kind of reach outside of that. I'm going to try to provide a perspective. I am not a political science major. I'm not an expert. Shoot, I'm not even an expert farmer. I'm trying, but what I will say is that if I don't use my platform to at least share some real direct perspective from a farmer in southern Arizona, I won't be doing, it'll be a disservice to my family and to our farm. So what I will say is I am grateful that Yuma contributes more than $4 billion a year to Arizona's GDP because we get to farm 365 days a year. It's middle of February, high was close to 80 degrees today. There's a reason we're the sunniest place on earth and we get to do this. We provide for the country and we're grateful for that. But without the employees in the FSA and the NRCS providing services for rural development and farm loans and risk management and disaster relief and so many other programs, we're nothing more than just, I don't know. And I hate to be pessimistic because that's not my nature. It's hard. And we have it good right now. I have a lot to be grateful for. We have it so good. But there are a lot of people hurting in this country and that are going to be hurting in these communities and across the world now because of decisions that are being made. And unfortunately, a lot of folks are unaware of these decisions. So I'm going to try to do better. It may not be daily. I'm going to try at least weekly to provide you some experience from the farm because this matters. We couldn't do this without our employees, without our team. And so many of these programs will impact our employees, not just the folks that are enjoying the vegetables we're growing. So this matters to us. It should matter to you. I'm going to try to do better. And the phrase that I keep hearing in my head, unidos somos más. Together we are more. We got to keep the humanity in this.
Hey there, it's day 34, and this is Juju. And today I'd like to talk about farm workers. So here I'm in Watsonville on my way to Soledad Prison to do empathy in action. And you can see in the distance here, the farm workers hard at work here in the field. I guess I can't get that. But I just want to talk about the support, the way that the media and certain people in our government are talking about immigrants, and particularly from, Mexico, Hispanic, immigrants. And these are some of the most hard-working people. This is back-breaking work. I've gone to a farm workers tour. There's a wonderful nonprofit called Farm Workers Family, farm worker families. And I've gone on one of their farm workers tours and seen what it's like to have to try to pick strawberries, the conditions that they live in. Our immigration system is broken, absolutely. But we need to give this, because right now these people are working under slave conditions, always afraid to that they're, the threat of being undocumented in this country. And so this is the agricultural area, and everyone is like, if you want to try deporting people, who do you think is going to come out here and do this backbreaking work? So I just want to say how important immigrants and farm workers are, certainly to this area of California. And I send them my love and respect. And again, check out the Center for Farm Workers Family. It's a wonderful organization. So this is Juju, unscripted, unedited, unfiltered, coming from the fields of Watsonville, and lead with love.